Hello everyone, these are my picks for the best glove for every single AK in CSGO. Starting with the newest AK in the game, the Elite Museo, here I've picked Specialist Gloves Marble Fade because it matches the blue and the red on the gun. The first glove I liked with the gold arabesque is the Sport Gloves Arid because I think the yellow parts match the gun well, where the backs of the gloves match the parts that replace the wood on the gun. I looked at a couple gloves for the green laminate, but I eventually settled on the Moto Gloves Turtle because I think it matches the best with the green and gray parts of the gun, matching the middle of the gun and the wooden parts. I think the AK Slate looks very nice with a pair of black tie gloves. However, if you don't like the white on the gloves, you may opt for something more subtle like the Sport Gloves Nox. If you're using this AK, it's very likely that you have a sticker craft, and so you should probably just use whichever gloves match the colors of your stickers the best. If you're using the AK X-Ray, the best choice for you will surely be the Sport Glove Slingshot. They match the red with the inside of the gloves matching the pale orange color on the rest of the gun. It only makes sense to pair the Panther Anka with the driver gloves Queen Jaguar. If you'd like to emphasize the orange of the Legion of Anubis, you may use driver gloves Overtake, but if you'd like to bring out the deeper blue, you may opt for driver gloves Lunar Weave instead. There aren't really any other gloves that match the AK perfectly, so it's best to use something that brings out one of the colors while not being too loud, which is why I picked these gloves. If driver gloves aren't really your style, I'd like to mention Moto Gloves Eclipse. I think they match decently well with this AK. And since this AK just has so many colors, I'd also like to mention the Specialist Gloves Field Agent, which match both the blue and the yellow parts of the gun. While the Phantom Disruptor works well with colors similar to the Legion of Anubis, I prefer it with Hand Wraps Badlands because I think they provide a more dangerous look. The AK Wild Lotus with Hedgemaze gloves is a classic combination. Admittedly, the gloves don't perfectly match the gun, but maybe someday in the future we'll get a new pair of gloves that matches the turquoise a lot better. For the Rat Rod, driver gloves Lunar Weave are the perfect choice. It may even be a good idea to get them in battle-scarred condition because it will still match the AK very well. If you're not a fan of driver gloves, hand wraps over print are a great alternative option, but I will admit I prefer the driver gloves. The Baroque Purple was difficult to find a good fit for, but I do like the Moto Gloves Cool Mint and the Moto Gloves Eclipse. The Uncharted pairs well with Specialist Gloves Forest DD Pat, or maybe some Big Game Sport Gloves. Another viable option is Hand Wraps Constrictor. The AK Asimov with Foundation Specialist Gloves is a very popular choice. For the safety net, I picked the Moto Gloves POW. The Neon Rider works fantastically with Sport Gloves Vice. The pink and the cyan parts of the gloves perfectly match the gun. However, if you're using this AK in a purple inventory, you may prefer driver gloves Imperial Plaid or Sport Gloves Pandora's Box. For the Empress, I've picked Specialist Gloves Marble Fade because the red, blue, and yellow is exactly what you need to match the gun. Of course, you can use Fade gloves in place for Marble Fade if you prefer. Specialist Gloves Field Agent are a great choice for this AK because they match the blue and the yellow very well. The best gloves for the Orbit Mark I are Specialist Gloves Crimson Kimono. Crimson Kimono is also a great choice for the AK-47 Bloodsport. Sport Gloves Scarlet Shaman are also a great option. Or you could pair Blood Sport with Blood Pressure. Being bright pink, the best gloves for the Neon Revolution are Sport Gloves Vice. It also looks really nice to bring out the bright green accents with a pair of Hedge Maze gloves. The Fuel Injector with Sport Gloves Omega is one of my favorite combos in the entire game. The colors on the Point Disarray can be pretty difficult to match, but I think Sport Glove Slingshot matches the white and the red parts decently. Or you could forget the red altogether and use a pair of Sport Gloves Amphibious to match the white and the blue parts. Also an excellent choice for the front side Misty. Although Superconductor gloves do a much better job matching the blue. A much cheaper option would be overprint hand wraps, which match the blue and the gray very well. Coincidentally, also one of my top gloves for the next AK, the Aquamarine Revenge. Tiger Strike gloves are a very cool way to balance the turquoise color and the orange if your loadout includes these colors. The green and white Hydroponic and the green and white Hedge Maze gloves were just made to be. The same goes for the orange and dark gray on the AK-47 Elite build and the Sport Gloves Big Game. For the Cartel, I picked the Moto Gloves Smoke Out because of the various shades of gray. Another option is just some good old duct tape. Duct tape hand wraps look great with the Wasteland Rebel. But in my opinion, leather hand wraps match even better. For the Jaguar, I picked Spruce DD Pat hand wraps. Or possibly Arboreal hand wraps. If you don't like hand wraps, Racing Green are a great option. Or maybe Convoy. Guerrilla Bloodhound gloves. Mangrove Hydra gloves. And of course, the Queen Jaguar with the Jaguar. For the Jet set, I like a nice sleek pair of gloves like the Driver Gloves Convoy. Or possibly Overtake. Again, this is one of the AKs that most likely has a sticker craft on it, so you're going to want to pick the gloves that best match your stickers. The first class looks great with a dark green pair of gloves like the Driver Gloves Racing Green. Broken Fang Gloves Jade are also a great fit with this AK. The Vulcan and the Superconductor gloves are an unstoppable combination. These fit perfectly. The Emerald Pinstripe with Hydra Gloves Emerald is a subtle but extremely clean combo. If you want to be more flashy though, you can of course use Emerald Web gloves. Like most red AKs, the red line looks fantastic with Crimson Kimono gloves. It's also one of the best AKs to go with Crimson Web gloves. And probably the best AK to go with Scarlet Shamrock gloves. For the blue laminate, I've selected Moto Gloves Polygon. Cool Mint are also a great fit for this AK. And of course, Hand Wraps Cobalt Skulls. For the Safari Mesh, I had to go with Sport Gloves Arid. Or Moto Gloves Transport. The best pair of gloves for the Fire Serpent is the Moto Gloves Turtle, which match the green, gray, and bright accents. For the red laminate, I have once again picked the Crimson Kimono gloves. The obvious choice for the AK Case Hardened is the Case Hardened Hydro gloves. For the black laminate, I've picked the Driver Gloves Black Tie. You can also use it with gloves like the Snow Leopard. The Predator looks nice with a pair of Queen Jaguars. And finally, for the Jungle Spray, I've picked the Racing Green.